And welcome to the Aotearoa Rugby Pod. Big weekend of rugby heading into the last week of pool play in the World Cup. The coaches, they're talking up. Eddie Jones, he's angry about buys and the state of the game. Ian Foster's angry about the way that teams are playing. They should all just play attacking rugby. Rassie Erasmus is like, Fozzie, look how many tries we've scored. Plenty to talk about there. The All Blacks versus Italy, a statement game? Well, what was the statement? The Aussies now have to wait a week to see if they're going to make the quarterfinals, which is incredibly cruel. Plus, we've got big games in pool play to decide who goes where. We've got Ireland, Scotland, Fiji, Portugal, England, Samoa, Japan, Argentina. Lots to look at in this coming weekend. So, it's going to be a fun show. Jibber?
How are we?
It's been a big weekend for you. Can we get the Broncos out of the way to start with? A little bit of NRL.
Oh, I don't want to talk.
You had it in the bag.
Oh, I was crowing. I texted too early. I think I was the problem. I was telling everyone. And it just, Nathan Cleary will go down now as one of the great players, the great half. We're talking in the Joey Johns sort of Alfie Langer. That was a clinic, that last 20.
It was. For those of you who aren't in the know, the Panthers won the NRL in Australia again. They had to come back from like 20 points down in the last 20 minutes against the Broncos. It was looking pretty sweet.
24-8.
And it was, a great finish from one of the great players, Nathan Cleary. We got that out of the way.
Yeah.
We can move on. Actually, there is a question about why you support them.
Yeah, well, I support them because they were around before the Warriors.
Yeah.
So my dad supported them, so I supported them.
Family legacy.
Yeah.
Okay. Joining us all the way from Japan, Bryn Hall. Good to have you, Bryn, again. Look at that smile on his face. Just acknowledging the tough times that Chip is going through.
Oh, I hate to see. I watched that and I thought I was going to actually send him a message pretty early on saying that they got the job done. But yeah, Nathan Cleary, man, he'd be the next to more, wouldn't he, Chip? He single-handedly took it from you guys, and you could see the fans even as well. That last try.
Let's talk rugby. I'm broken.
We could get on with the rugby right about now. So, plenty of banter from the coaches about the state of the game this week and in the last couple of days. Really interesting. Admittedly, mostly talk from the Southern Hemisphere narrative, not so much the Northern Hemisphere narrative, because it's a bit more of a struggle down here, especially in New Zealand and Australia, than it has been up there. But let's start with booing. Because I know there's a lot of places, Ireland, for instance, is a place where you just go quiet and you don't boo. Dan Bigg has complained, Eddie Jones has complained about the amount of booing going on in the stadiums. Do you care about booing?
No, not really. I suppose I'm thinking from a player's point of view, Bryn, like, you're so in the zone, like, I'm surprised they, you hear it, but you don't really acknowledge. There's so much going on. I'm surprised, especially Bigger, that he's worried about it.
Bryn, for me, it just shows that people are passionate. Isn't that what we want?
Yeah, it is, and I think, to come back to what Jib said, I think when you're in the moment, you actually don't hear any of the booing. Maybe if it's an isolated situation where there's a big try scored, you're hearing the roars and the eruptions. But other than that, I hardly ever really notice it. So I think the only bad thing, not just the booing, but the lasers. I know there's been a bit of lasers that were back in the past, and that's probably the only thing that you can really take you off your game when you're kicking and you're seeing a laser go into your eye. But seeing the booing, it's passionate, but it's been around for a long time. It's not the first time that booing's been talked about. So, yeah, no problem from my end.
The only lights we're seeing are from the Springboks coaches going up. But that leads us to what he said next. Eddie Jones was talking about the booing, and then he felt that the booing was most likely caused by the fact that fans are frustrated. They're frustrated with the amount of interjections coming from TMOs, assistant referees, the amount of stop-start stuff that's going on, the amount of time we spend not watching rugby during the 80 minutes of rugby. Now, is he on the money? Do you think that that's the way the fans are thinking right now? They're just unhappy with the state of the game?
He's clutching. Like, I haven't heard a negative report about, like, the experience at the World Cup. If anything, it's I suppose, re-engaging the fans and everyone's saying how amazing, watching the World Cup in France and the spectacle that it is and how, there's sort of parties afterwards, before. So, I haven't felt that way, personally. I've enjoyed games when, I really enjoyed the All Blacks game. It was just ruthless and, fast-paced. But, man, I loved that South African-Ireland game. Like, that was awesome.
Playing without the ball is going to probably win this Rugby World Cup. And you look at all the suffocation of the teams and being able to have defensive pressure, playing in the right areas of the field. You look at England, for example, who I think have a great DNA to try and win this Rugby World Cup. So it'd be great to see if that theory is going to be put to the test when the All Blacks play Ireland, because they could fall into a trap if they don't get it right. Ireland will pounce on them.
Playing without the ball is what Ian Foster's talking about as well. So he ended up in his press conference being asked all about the state of the game, the amount of minutes in play. Obviously, they scored a lot of tries in their 96 points. They had 18 minutes of ball on attack in comparison to 15 from Italy, and it was about 15 minutes each for Ireland and South Africa in their games, Jip. So it's interesting, Ian Foster is not happy. He said, well, I'd rather watch a game like New Zealand-Italy than a game like South Africa-Ireland, to which, our friend Rassie, who was on Twitter, said, well, really? And I kind of agree with Rassie. I mean, if you're going to look at a spectacle and you're going to look at a competition, there was a contest in that South Africa-Ireland game. But I think what Fozzie is getting at is that he doesn't want to see as much of the defensive pressure. He wants to see more offensive skill set in the game that he likes to watch.
Yeah, but I suppose that's the challenge from an attacking coach point of view. You've got to create that time and space. That's what makes, if you use Ireland as an example, they do it pretty well. Sexton runs a hell of a cutter. He gets that, that rush D thinking and that disconnect, and he normally pulls the trigger at the right time to break down those seams. So I think if you took obviously I'm always going to want to watch the All Blacks over any other game, but if I took it away that I didn't support any team and just from a rugby point of view, South Africa and Ireland was awesome. It was unbelievable. It was the best test I've seen in years, let alone, I would definitely want to watch a contest like that versus someone nearly scoring 100 points.
Ian Foster's probably not quite said what he meant completely well, but you can see the way he coaches the game. And
he is an attack coach.
But that's probably the problem, isn't it? I think people around the world might say, well, actually, that sounds like the issue here, because if you were as dialed into the way that these teams are winning games, you might be winning those games in comparison to, jumping on your high horse and talking about running rugby.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all part of a tactic for the refs to hear.
Yeah.
For the games coming up. I don't think he sits there and it's a strategy. Just like Eddie's comments are a strategy. They're smart operators. They try to, win every small win, and what he's trying to do is probably get the refs to put the whistle away. And
the South Africans have actually really improved in the last 12 months. We talked around, did they have the ability to be able to play with ball in hand? And now you look at them now, like with those stats, backs are scoring tries, their forwards obviously got their set piece parity, and they even have the ability to be able to go through them with their big forward pack. So I definitely think they have improved. And so, if anything, it's going to be interesting to see if they want to have that theory with the All Blacks, being able to play with the ball in hand. Are they actually able, against an Ireland, to be able to do that consistently like they did against the against the Italians, where they were very ruthless in that area? So it'd be a good challenge for them when they do play them in that quarterfinal stage.
We have to celebrate the All Blacks, though, because I've sat on here and pumped Ireland up away around putting out their best side and dominating and just wiping the floor. And Italy, everyone was talking them up to win. That was personal. And that's the sort of ruthless edge that may just give them the confidence now that they can go and execute as well as that against a better side in Ireland. And very Crusader-like, and I don't know if it's Jace Ryan, but that variation around that line-out attack was outstanding. And Shannon Frizzell was quite a key. His ability in the line-out is quite critical to us being successful at set piece, I think. We ran at 100%, but there were so many moving parts, and it was similar movements that the picture never really changed, but the option changed. And that's when it's hard defensively, when the triggers and everything is exactly the same every time, and you think you've got it, and then they go change the point of attack. Round the back, then Sam Cane comes round the front and sets Colsey up, and then now they've shown so much that teams will be like, oh, we've got to sort out our transition D, we've got to be right around the front, and then we can now maul. Because it just creates that hesitancy, and having that innovation is a big gain for them, and was a big reason, I think, where they just got their mojo going. And I don't think we've seen that. It's been pretty, sort of status quo for a while around our line-out attack.
It's hard to not think about the fact that the passive defence from Italy played into it and made it more of a training ground move than the kind of freedom that South Africa is unlikely to give you, or Ireland's unlikely to give you in and around those set piece moves.
At the same time as well, you've got to be disciplined to be able to do that. You look at this Italian side that we talked about before, we probably thought they'd give us a bit more of a contest, but in saying that, what they did in front of them, you talk around the set piece, in that first half, they were 100%, and then obviously throughout the game as well. The variation around where you talked around Jip is really important, especially against going to the quarterfinal, semi-final stage. You've got to think about the maul, the transition, the special players that we do have. And so I know you, Jip, as yourself, you love doing a bit of preview, the amount of hours that you have to work collectively, team, coaches, to be able to try and stop that. It's going to be really hard. But I think also our bench as well came on and really added a bit of an impact. So I thought the whole 23 coming on was really important, because I think, sometimes you can fall into the trap with such a great performance of that 60 minutes, 50 minutes, you're bringing on the bench, and you want to be able to try and replicate that formula and play the same way. And I thought they came on and did really, really well. And so, you look at the 80-minute performance, there'll be a lot of tick boxes, especially set piece. Our bench coming on and having a massive impact as well, which I think we're going to need in the back end of that quarterfinal, semi-final, final stage. So, yeah, they'll enjoy it, but I guess they'll know that there's harder tests to come, but they'll get a lot of confidence in nailing a lot of those areas that they wanted to try and do against the French that they weren't able to.
To your point, though, they were passive because of the variation. They're not passive defenders. The attack made them passive, because they didn't know where they were going and what they're doing, so they weren't clear, they weren't connecting, they couldn't bring the line speed together because it happened so fast. So yes, the South Africans and the Irish are going to be better, but if you can have that variation, you get that hesitancy, and you've got guys like Aotearoa running around the back, and I thought Sam Cane showed great skill to hold and draw those two defenders in. You're putting yourself in the contest, and I think before that game, most people would be predicting Ireland to win. Whereas everyone will probably still be predicting Ireland to win, but I think they know that this All Black team is back. In the sense that they can really push and potentially win. If they hit their straps like they did on the weekend.
The All Blacks got smashed at Twickenham. They've copped it against Ireland. They're going to be focused to a very, very high degree in that quarterfinal, in the same way they were against France in 2015, in the same way they were against Ireland in 2019. And when you talk to those players who played in those games, they said that the defeats to those teams in key matches before was the big difference heading into those games.
Yeah, and I suppose there's the demons of that tour loss down here. That was quite rattling for the side in terms of the public pressure, and especially on the coaches and so forth. So there's a lot of meaning, and there will be extra focus. Probably not saying it would be more for another team, but there's pain there. It is personal, similar to like the Italians sort of saying, "Oh, we've got a chance." They took that personally. You talk about the All Black forwards want respect. Well, they took a step in a great direction against Italy, but if they want to go on that journey and get that, then taking on a very, very, very good Irish pack is a big opportunity.
I also think the Irish as well, they'll take confidence in this World Cup cycle that they've had, the 4 years that they've had. Like, they haven't, obviously it's going to be based around winning the Rugby World Cup, and that's what they're going to be based on. But you look at the kind of situations that they've had to be able to win big test matches. They've won Grand Slams, they beat the French, they won a series down under. And so the kind of confidence that within that group they were having when they've had pressure on them, which you probably haven't seen in the last World Cup, where they were kind of limping into the quarterfinals of last year's 2019 Rugby World Cup. But I think they could take a lot of confidence of the games that they have won in this World Cup cycle. And I know that the All Blacks will be that energetic, will be that focused around trying to get that job done. But at the same time, you've got to be able to give Ireland credit in the sense that they have won a lot of test matches, and they will have confidence going into their All Black quarterfinal if it ends up being like that. So it'll be a good encounter if it ends up getting that way.
But what I love is, like, we've sort of praised Ireland a lot for their, from an attacking structure, everyone does their role, there's bodies in motion, it is tough for defence to defend. And what I saw on the weekend is Aaron Smith's third try, if we can get the vision, Geordie Barrett comes from the opposite side to get that ball. Like, the work off the ball from the All Blacks on the weekend was, like, a level above we've seen this season and last. Like there is that was the most clinical I've seen them in 2 or 3 years. It was, and the big players standing up.
And Damien McKenzie. Jip, we spoke about Damien McKenzie in his bench role last week. He looked good in that role. It feels like it's a good fit.
Yeah, and look, we sort of didn't agree that with 3 of them that it could work, but I think he's just in such good form that he is a game changer, and he's something different, and so unpredictable. So he's hard to preview.
Yeah.
And he doesn't give a lot of cues away, and I think for a lot of time he may not know what he's going to do. You know, he is a very visual attacker. So the defence gives him a picture, he'll choose the option rather than, he doesn't quite come in with that sort of, you know, fixated, this is what we've got to do, we've got to get to this edge, we've got to, you know, he is off the cuff, which makes him dangerous and clearly something they want to inject in the game, and it worked. It worked brilliantly.
So, Brent, do you think they'll find a spot for him come quarter-final time?
I think if the last 20 minutes in a game, you've got Cam Morgan and Damien McKenzie, and it's really close, having those guys that are able to influence a game through their attacking prowess, it'll be pretty pivotal, I think, in the back end of games. So, no, I think they keep Damien McKenzie out Aotearoa. I don't think there's a lot of change in that 23. Now, it depends if they are going to play them against Uruguay. I'm not too sure. We have talked around, it'd be great to see the same team get out and play again, to have some confidence and some runs on the board before going into that quarterfinal, probably against Ireland.
The only thing is we sort of spoke about the 6-2 split. With him there, it's not possible. You'd have to do the 5, and then you just got to back that the players that are there can get the job done over the 80. That's the only you know, sort of decision they've got to make. The
value of an extra forward in comparison to a value of an extra back. Now, if you're taking the extra forward, you're talking about an extra loose forward in comparison to McKenzie?
Yeah, I think it's just more of those sort of fresh bodies. We know that the Irish pack is going, I shouldn't probably jump to the quarter, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
That's when the decision's going to need to be made. And you know, it's going to be a war of attrition up front. And we talk about Damien having a great game, we talk about Cam, we talk about, you know, Geordie, Aaron. I'll go back to it. The men in the low numbers provided the platform. They dominated the collision. They got that front football, which bought these players time.
So, Brent, you mentioned before, you know, what their selection should be against Uruguay and whether or not they should play that same team to give them more game time together heading into that quarterfinal clash. 5 weeks in a row of the same 23, you know, probably isn't possible because there'll be injuries or whatever, but in a perfect world, how difficult is it to go, okay, we're expecting you to play 5 weeks in a row?
I think it's a little bit different probably for this group because we've had a few injuries throughout the duration of the Rugby World Cup, you know, so you think of Frizzell, it'd be great to see him play again, Kane, Barrett, and then the other boy, Lomax, those kind of guys that haven't played a lot, you'd like to think that they need to have some more minutes underneath their belt. But then at the same time, there might be some guys that have played a lot of test matches that knowing that if you do give them the week off, it refreshes them to be able to then play for that quarterfinal stage. But for me personally, I'd love for us to be able to stick with the same 23 or a few maybe 1 or 2 changes based on maybe a little bit older and experienced that might have their week off, might be better for them. But I think for us, if we can continue to keep this group together for another week, especially in game situation, I think it'll be very important for us then going to that quarterfinal stage.
And don't assume you've got 5. That would be a mistake. You've got 2.
Yeah.
And then if you're fortunate enough to get another one, then...
You like to play as well, Jip. Even sometimes having that week off, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but sometimes you lose your rhythm just a little bit, even if you're having that week off. And so for me as a player, I love being able to play more, just the consistently you played, the rhythm that you had. And then when you went out on the field, you were just really decisive because you didn't have that week off. So in the past, just from previous experience, having that week off, it actually was I felt a little bit underdone when I did come back. So, but obviously that's player preference. Guys might be able to be a little bit older and say, I don't need this week. I can get right mentally and then feel all good for that quarterfinal. But yeah, for me personally, I want to be out there, runs on the board and keep playing as much as I can.
The Springboks have got a week off. I don't think it really matters to them.
No.
They're not the kind of team that gets bothered by that. They're quite pragmatic.
No, they are. They're very, they just get on with the business. They don't overthink things. They've got so much experience as well. Like they've been there, they've done it. You know, like it's pretty straightforward. I think it's probably a good time for them. You know, they've had a pretty big calendar year and having it late in the piece is helpful.
Bryn, you know what's cruel? the Wallabies have a week off. They have a week off. It's just a stay of execution. They're going to take a 3-day break, then they're going to train for 3 days while they wait to find out whether Portugal can beat Fiji, which seems rather unlikely, although Georgia gave Fiji a pretty good run.
Well, we spoke about that weight of expectation. The underdog is an easy place to be. Not easy, but you know what I mean. No one gives you a chance, whereas that weight of expectation just made them, I think, a little gun shy. And it was a good performance. Like Georgia was annoyed with their draw, so they meant business. But I think it's they didn't lose, but a nice little wake up for Fiji if they want to be genuine contenders and get to that, you know, sort of semi-final, and by the looks probably face England. And England, obviously having lost previously before the World Cup, that is not going to be easy to repeat.
The last couple of rounds there's been some interesting results. You know, that was an interesting one. And then you look at Japan versus Samoa, and Japan are in a very good spot now, looking against Argentina to actually make it through when everyone had just stopped talking about them. Yeah, well, they don't forget they got a bit of assistance, like discipline was poor from Samoa, and they spent a lot of the game without a full complement of players. But I do think, you know, Japan were dominating physically for the first time against that pack. You know, Labuskaksny's try was just all out, like, dominance, physical dominance by that pack. So, and they won the breakdown as well. So, like I think even if there was 15 versus 15 for the majority, they probably still would have won, but it wouldn't have been as easy. And you saw what Samoa are capable of towards the end, but disappointing that they waited so long and just were too ill-disciplined. Do you think they can beat Argentina, Bryn?
Well, I think they have gotten a lot better. You know, I think we talked around the England game. It was their best performance that they had in a long time, even leading up to that World Cup. They didn't play very good rugby. And then I think what they did on the weekend really well, and what they've done in the past, probably last a lot of these test matches, just a lot of mistakes at crucial times. So they did enough in that first year. When it was get it to about 25-8, they were able to get their points, whether that be through Matsuda with those penalty goals, being able to build scoreboard pressure, and then being able to score points when they were available. So, you know, I thought Lamiki was outstanding for Japan. I thought his ability to be able to play was great for them. The attacking priorities that he brought, and then I think Hamino as well. Man, it was a good reminder, I think, of how good he is and the ability of the turnover balls, and especially in that physicality breakdown jip. You know, they were pretty dominant. Yeah, more dominant than the Samoans. So they tackled themselves, I think, 100 tackles in that first half, and they only had maybe like 8 or 9 misses. You know, so defensively, they really showed up. So whether they could do that against the Argentinian team, I'm not too sure, because, you know, we know it's going to be a physical game. And so the challenge for them is to be able to replicate the ability of taking the opportunities, whether that's through 3 points or scoring tries, and then physicality at the breakdown, making good tackles and good decisions and slowing down that ball.
I consider them much more in the contest than I did a week ago. Like that was the performance Japan probably needed to believe, similar to the All Blacks over Italy. But Argentina, their Achilles heel is always their discipline. Like, if they don't give teams opportunity, they are quite hard to break down, but they've just got to make sure they do it, you know, legally.
It's funny how, as much as things change, they remain the same. Like, we look at this Pool D and England's up the front. Yeah. It's Argentina and Japan competing for second place. For at the start of the tournament, there was a lot of chat about Samoa, and the same for Tonga in Pool B. You know, while no one thought that they were going to get through, people were expecting more. You know, obviously, when you look at the Pacific Island nations, they've been given opportunities and that they're allowed these players back now, but more time needs to be in the saddle.
We sort of spoke about it, and someone actually mentioned it to me. They sent me a message on Instagram and said they put around our comments saying, like, you can see it in defensive systems and set piece when you haven't had time together.
Yes.
And you know, you can see that in Samoa and Tonga. But they also said that's why the Wallabies, they feel like the Wallabies are struggling as well, because they just haven't had that time together. That, you know, like it was a late decision to go with that young side, and they just don't know each other.
Yeah.
And it's just clunky. So it's definitely against them. But Samoa was so strong in that Pacific Nations Cup. I just don't know where it's gone wrong for them. I'm gutted, because I obviously picked them to be in the quarterfinal, and you know we're mates with a lot of the players that are playing for them. So it would have been great to see them do well, but it's just not to be. And I think it's a big opportunity missed for them, to be honest. Like, they were in a good pool, they came in with good form, but I just think this whole World Cup's going to be decided on discipline for some reason. Like, it's just, and I mean like card discipline, not just penalties.
Yeah.
You know, like a head clash or a shoulder to the head is going to put a team under pressure in a big moment.
That's a good segue for us because we've been inundated with emails this week. Too many questions to fit into the show. And I got a couple in around that last couple of talking points that we've had. Please get in touch with us. Send us an email, Aotearoa Rugby Pod @sky.co.nz, or within the YouTube comments section. We'll do our best to answer everything we can as we go. Simon Hardy sent an email, and his question was in around all of these issues with the Pacific Island teams not having time together and not really having the chance to get to the place where they can showcase their true potential. What Simon Hardy says, Bryn, is there's obviously potential there in the Pacifica teams. Why don't we expand the Rugby Championship to put them in there rather than having the Pacific Nations Cup? Is that something that you see as a real possibility or even feasible considering where their players play?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think if you look at probably out of all the Pacific Island nations, the one that are deserving to probably be there, and for longevity-wise, it's probably Fiji. I think with the ability that they have with the Fijian draw playing in the local competition with Super Rugby Pacific, it helps them a lot to be able to develop those players and being able to, if you're talking around cohesion, they're able to come in alongside with the Northern Hemisphere to then be able to play in the Rugby Championship. And I think, Fiji would probably be pretty deserving, I think, of being in that Rugby Championship, knowing that longevity-wise, they could probably be sustainable. Now, I'm not too sure about Tonga and Samoa. Obviously, they don't play in the Super Rugby Pacific, and a lot of their players play overseas, and the ability to be able to get them all together is probably a lot harder. So unless there's structures in place for them to be able to do that, I'm not too sure if it's possible. But I think Fiji would probably be the one team that I think would be able to be in that Rugby Championship. Or, if you're looking at the other Pacific nations, there's a possibility of having a winner-loser kind of relegation zone where you might be put into the Rugby Championship. But then, I'm not too sure.
I think the only way it's possible is the global calendar thing, to get the release window, because so many of them play for the French clubs. The French clubs want their pound of flesh. They're not just going to release them if it's not an agreed window, sort of release window. So until that happens, there's no, it's just not feasible.
Yeah.
Because they're all based at the other parts of the world. But I do think Fiji and a Japan are a possibility. And I think the game's open to change. I think everyone's working pretty hard to reignite that love for the game and why there was such a big following previously, and where we as a game probably haven't got it right over the last few years to get that engagement, especially in the Southern Hemisphere. There's merit to more test matches for Manu Samoa and Tonga to play against Northern Hemisphere sides, because a lot of their players are up there. Again, it comes back to the French clubs releasing them. Yeah. So you can have games up there, but you've got to get access to the players.
Another good question, this one from, I think it said Vihan van Zyl, obviously from South Africa. The only questions that matter are which team has the highest ceiling and which team will be capable of playing to that ceiling come the final. Now, this is the thing that got Jeff Wilson in trouble a couple of weeks ago, talking about ceilings for teams.
Go on, Jeff. Go on, Jeff.
Which team do you think has the highest
So what does it mean, the most potential?
Yeah, at their very best, which team can be better than everybody else? If everyone was playing at their best.
Man, I should have read that question before I came.
I think Ireland.
I think South Africa. I just think South Africa have got the ability to play, Ireland play their way.
Yeah.
Whereas South Africa can do it in, I'm thinking out loud here. So I'm not making a lot of sense, but yeah. I just think that innovative, the way they just do random stuff, but I don't think it's that random for them.
Yeah.
They change things up. So when I think of a ceiling, if you're changing things up, you're prepared to learn geez, I'm really doing this out loud. And that's what improves your ceiling, because that's how you get that growth, is because you tried something else.
Yes.
And South Africa do that week in, week out. So you'd have to think from a logical point of view.
Yeah, you're saying that you don't know where their ceiling is because they continue to find a new level.
And they'll learn, and they're prepared to do different stuff regularly.
Yeah.
And that's where their growth, like they've got the most growth, I believe, in that sense. Whereas if you look at every other team, maybe France too, a little bit, they can be a little bit, you know, choppy and changing in terms of their game plan. But I think South Africa are the most, you know, obvious ones. And whereas, like, and don't take this like Ireland's bad. Like, Ireland's great, but they play it like, I've just complimented the Crusaders who've won every title known to man. It's not a bad thing, but they just play their way.
Yeah.
And they don't go outside that.
Yes.
They don't need to. So, in terms of the question, ceiling, South Africa.
Well, on that then, if we're going to go with that, then you'd have to think the All Blacks have made massive gains in the last 12 months then, Jip, around how they've evolved parts of their game. Now, I guess the question for them is, as you know, I've talked about when it comes to France, when they played that French game, the ability for them to stay on and being able to get that mindset like the Irish do. But where the question is, if we're all on flying cylinders and we're all playing to our potential, then I think what the All Blacks can do and what they have the potential to do ceiling-wise, they'd have to be right up there with the improvements that they've had post that Irish tour.
But Bryn, your first gut was Ireland.
If everything's firing and everybody's playing at their potential, with the kind of things I talked around with Ireland, with how disciplined they are and situationally very, very good, and have had confidence in this World Cup cycle against big teams and getting results. Grand Slams, when we get the French and a New Zealand series win, you know. So
isn't that just the best team?
But then if we, because I get what you're saying around that, the ceiling. Who's shown the most growth? You'd have to think South Africa. 12 months ago, they weren't playing the footy that they are right now. And then I think to a certain extent, New Zealand has as well. The All Blacks have. Our kicking game, we've got it all right. We've won our breakdown area. We've had variation in our game, especially around our set piece, and then also around our phase play attack. It's been a lot better. So if you talk around the ceiling and us being improving, you know, I think we'd be in that conversation as well.
This is a good question.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because of the new coaches, though? The new coaches that came into the All Blacks, that has changed the way we've played because that's their style of coaching, whereas South Africa hasn't seen much change, but they, like, who would have done 7-1? Like, in what world was that okay?
I think, yeah.
Like, no one's prepared to do that.
It's Russie's world.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, that's the sort of stuff that, to me, is pushing your ceiling the most, is doing stuff others aren't doing.
Yeah, I suppose if you looked at it as like a skyscraper though, you know, like, and you know when you go into like an office block and you swipe the card and it doesn't actually let you go to level 12, you know, because you don't have the rights to go to level 12. You've only got the rights to go to level 10. The penthouse is completely off limits to you.
Russie owns the penthouse.
Well, because this is the thing. I think that Ireland owns the penthouse. Ireland lives in the penthouse. You know, they've got the ability to go down floors if they want to, but they live in the penthouse.
Yeah, but now,
is there a room above the penthouse that South Africa haven't figured out how to get to yet, if you know what I mean? Like, South Africa might live on the 10th floor if the penthouse is on the 12th, but there is a 13th floor, and South Africa are figuring out how to get there. Whereas Ireland live on the 12th floor. They just have to open up the door and walk up the stairs.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
So Ross, are you saying that Ireland can't go to the 13th level?
Well, I'm saying that Ireland don't need to go to the 13th level because they're so regularly on the 12th. The other teams live on 9 and 10 are trying to get to 11, and then they need to get to 13 to go above Ireland. Do you know, if you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I've got you. I've got you.
Yeah, look,
I think that's question of the year.
Yeah, it's a cracker.
Got me thinking.
It's an absolute cracker. So thank you very much. It was a seriously good question. We've got more. Now, you touched on it before, discipline. So I'm really, really interested in this particular one on discipline. This one comes from the Macho Man Randy Savage on YouTube. I'm presuming it's not the real Macho Man, but we'll see. I believe there should be a card given for clashes with no intent. Hear me out. Orange card. The head clash without intent, where a player is sent off for 15 minutes and that player can't come back on unless they are replaced.
But we're bringing more grey into our game.
Yeah.
And we've got to get rid of the grey. Like, it just will I think it will cause another negative narrative of our game in the media.
Yeah.
Whereas, you want to be creating rules or things that, get the game spoken about positively. And I think everyone knows the rules of engagement as a player when you go out there, and you've got to get it right. And I know there's no intent, and it happens a lot, and it's tough, especially when it's your side.
Yeah.
But
I think and we talked around before the World Cup as well, around having that 20-minute red card and then being able to bring someone else on.
I would like that to be the red card situation.
Yes.
I still love that 20-minute red card.
It doesn't matter what the intent was. If a guy's lying on the ground with a broken neck, what does it matter what you were trying to do?
Yeah.
They've got to put people in a position where it doesn't happen. It's the same for high balls, with competition under high balls, etc. It doesn't matter. We've got to stop people getting hurt.
Yeah, actually, now you've just said that, I do think maybe it is a bit more motivating that isn't the 20-minute red card. I can see the argument the other way.
Yeah.
I still like the 20-minute red card, but knowing that, you're going for the game.
Yeah.
It just kills the game.
Yeah. Oh, Bryn, you're an advocate for the 20-minute red card.
I massively am, and especially if it's going to happen early on, and the intent, let's just say the intent wasn't wrong, but it's saying that he just got it wrong. Do you know what I mean? And so if it's 20 minutes, then if it happens in the first 2 minutes of a game, it's not playing then 14 men for 17 minutes in a quarterfinal or semi-final stage, which a lot of people will be watching. Obviously, your countries will be watching that as well. So I just think a 20-minute system, having that bunker is good. But then I think, again, just having 20 minutes and then being able to bring someone else on gives the team, I believe, enough time to try and get points from that, and having that advantage of having 14 people on. And then you also, again, the spectacle becomes good, and it doesn't take it away.
The only game I can remember that the team that got the red card has won is that England one from Curry at the start of the tournament.
Yeah.
Outside of that, every time there's a red card, that team goes on to lose. I actually don't know that for fact. That's more feeling.
Yeah.
Majority of the time.
Yeah.
So.
And that what they did that was smart was that they negated the fact that they were down a person by playing 10-man rugby for a bunch of it.
Oh, and just
and
taking 3 points.
You're 50 metres out and off you go. Speaking of which, the Georgian kicker, gee whiz, that guy can kick goals.
Imagine him in the high veld.
Just smoking.
Where would it be from? 22?
Yeah.
You reckon?
Oh, well, I mean, people have
30,
done it.
30,
People
30,
have done it for
70 metres?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 7.
You had a big range, didn't you, Brenner? What was the furthest
Me?
kick? Yeah, didn't you?
I don't think so. I think I've actually probably lost distance in my years now. I think the biggest kick I ever got was a 55.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a bit of a tailwind.
Maybe 50.
But not,
that's
mate,
a
not
big
now.
kick.
Not now, mate. I think I'm barely get about 45, 47 at the moment. So
What about
actually in Japan?
You and Shooter used to always kick it. Sean Stevenson, sorry, nicknames. You and Sean Stevenson used to kick at captain's run, and Sean would get like 65 metres some days at Harbour.
Right.
It was with a breeze, but big kick.
You can smoke it.
Man, he can kick it.
Yeah, he could. I think at the best he got, maybe it was a big tailwind. Probably pumping him up here. It might be like, 65.
It was 65, 70 metres, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, downwind, but still to get that, man. He's got a cannon, absolute cannon.
And it just makes you wonder, like, certainly with the All Blacks, you've got Geordie Barrett there who can smoke them from a long way out. Should there be more of a focus when you get to a quarterfinal, rather than kicking it to the corner, taking the line out, whatever it might be, on just letting Geordie Barrett unleash on his range and picking up the 3 points?
But if you don't, what's the unintended consequence?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I like. I like the way Ireland play in terms of kicking to the corner early.
Yeah.
I just think it pays dividend in the end. And if you get some points with it, beauty. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Because you're down that part of the field, the pressure's on them to try and get an exit. You can put, they're really good in the effort areas. I'm not trying to overdo Ireland just because they get called out, but
Yeah.
you get my point.
No, I do. And with Dan Sheehan back, I'm imagining that the Ireland line-out is going to be far more effective, going into those areas like they did against South Africa and they lost them.
Yeah.
They're most likely to be close to scoring a try.
South Africa defended so well line-out time, though. There wouldn't be a line-out in World Rugby that wouldn't have struggled that day.
Yeah.
They had the Twin Towers. and there's a hooker. That's a hard one to
get over,
to decipher.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so another question. This one from Shane Allison via email. This is looking forward to the probable Ireland All Blacks quarterfinal. Depending on what happens against Scotland this weekend. If we, being New Zealand, want to beat Ireland in the quarterfinal, we really are going to need to play a power game from the backs that will suck in defenders and provide the ABs with good front foot ball. Both Talia and Leicester will give us the ability of a power game from the back. What are your thoughts? He's saying drop Will Jordan. That seems like...
16 carries on the weekend, Will Jordan.
Are you allowed to say that out loud? Are you allowed to say you want to drop Will Jordan out loud? I don't think that's ever been said in the history of man.
Well, not in front of Bryn, that's for sure. Bryn, I'll leave that to you, my old mate.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go probably, I think I touched on it a little bit earlier. I think for the All Blacks to beat an Ireland, and it's probably when we do play, both teams play each other, because teams are so good defensively, it's been able to go through them. And Jib's talked around a lot around our forward pack. And if we can win our breakdown area and we can have a get quick ball, then it opens up for the likes of a Leicester, Mark, Will, or whoever is on that outside channel. But if we don't win that physicality battle and we're getting slow ball, it's going to sit right into Ireland, and then we're going to be playing on the back foot, whether that be through turnovers and then being able to build scoreboard pressure with threes with Sexton, or go to the corner like Jib said with Sexton. I think for us to beat Ireland, we're going to have to be pretty good for I believe the whole 80 minutes and then around that breakdown area, and being able to nail your role, ball carrier, cleaner, timing, winning race, and being able to do that for sometimes 15, 16, 17 phases to not only get a try, but to maybe get a penalty and wear down their ability to be their fitness.
You wouldn't drop Will Jordan, would you?
No. And as a forward, and as forwards pride themselves on doing their job, to allow guys to flourish. If you're picking power wingers to get you that dominance, you're predicting that your pack's going to lose that battle, which would be a strange way to select a side, in my opinion.
In saying that,
I definitely think they could both start. We've had that discussion last week about does Will go to fullback?
Yeah.
Especially the way Leicester played, but it's just, it's not a development team, it's a hard team to make. Well,
especially off set piece though, having a power winger, and we've seen it with Jonah and Julian Sarver and Jose Gear and a bunch of wingers for the All Blacks over the years. From line out and from scrum, having a power winger can be your ability to attack and be successfully attacking from first phase play.
Yeah, and also like a player like Leicester, what he does is, even if he doesn't get the ball, if he runs into that channel, he is going to hold defenders, which creates space elsewhere. But it's just a hard team to make. It's the All Blacks. It's he's done everything he can do. Yeah. It's just Mark Talia. Like if you look at the weekend, like Mark's he's incredible. Yeah. Like the way he gets out the other side of tackles and holds his feet and keeps going. Like it's just. And they've committed to the Richie Bodie, so there's just no space. No, well, that would make it Damien McKenzie versus Leicester Whainganuku, right? And then having to put Bodie up to 10 if... Or you back him that he can play centre. Or you back him that he can play centre, but then you don't have cover for 12. I don't think so.
Probably don't want to go into a quarterfinal, semi-final stage. No disrespect to Leicester, him covering 13.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like, it's the only way of finding room for him. Yeah, so if you're weighing up Leicester Whainganuku versus Damien McKenzie, you're going Damien McKenzie? I am now, but I didn't say that last week. So I'm going off the back of his performance and it working. Yeah. But yeah, I was on the Leicester train last week. Yeah, coming through. Then I jumped on the Harvelli. I was all over the place last week. Yeah, you're allowed to change your mind. Yeah, I'm stubborn though. I don't like changing my mind.
You did say, remember when we talked around the impact of, Damien McKenzie coming on the last 20 minutes, then a winger coming on.
100%. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I did too. I think nice, Bryn. Thanks.
Yeah, Leicester himself, you bring him on the field, he's great in and around, picking through rucks, his work rate off the ball carries. But I just think with that split, you can, Damien McKenzie brings a lot when being able to try and influence the game in that part of the game, especially with Cam Roygar coming on with him as well. Right. Okay. I think over 3 weeks we might have got to the bottom of that. We'll see. Damien McKenzie right now.
Damien.
Reserve the right to change next week.
But we'll put our hand up when we, jump on that wrong bandwagon, and then we'll jump over to the new bandwagon.
Yeah, that's right. We trying to be as knee-jerk as we can, week on week on week, consistently knee-jerk.
I'll come next week and we'll probably think, the ceiling's even higher for us, guys.
Yeah, we want to get up to that penthouse. That's where that's where the breakdown is.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Yeah.
We
We just need to jump up there. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Get them behind us.
Yeah, we're coming. We've got some games to predict this weekend. Let's finish off with that. There's a number of games coming up. Let's start with the first one. Friday morning, New Zealand time. New Zealand versus Uruguay. I'm not going to ask who's going to win. I'm going to ask you, what is a victory for New Zealand in this game outside of the scoreboard?
I think a replica of what we saw against Italy. Just that ruthless intent to execute their stuff and not really worry about the opposition. And I think that's the mindset they've got to take for the rest, because they can't control the islands, the South Africans. What they can control is themselves and their role within their systems and just sticking to it.
Bren?
It's copy and paste from the old mate, so exactly the same. Yeah, want to probably see a similar scoreline of what they play against the Italians.
Right, speaking of Italy, France versus Italy. From what you saw on the weekend, I'm presuming you don't think that Italy has a chance of upsetting France?
No, but they'll bounce back. I don't think it'll be, they won't be happy with that. They'll bounce back, and again, interested in the Dupont situation for France. But I think they'll go with their A team. So they'll win comfortably, but probably not to that margin.
Yeah. They did get a 24-29 loss to France in the Six Nations, Bryn. There is history there of them playing well against France, but it's hard to imagine that they would be able to repeat that, considering,
That was in Italy as well, though.
All sorts. It was in Italy, yeah.
It's a big difference playing France and France.
I don't think so. I think it will be interesting, though, to see how France do play without Dupont, and if their style does change, because we've talked around on how influential he is for that team and how they base it around him. I will be interested to see how they do play. If they don't get a Dupont in the quarterfinal stage, if their game does change, or they try and keep it the same.
Well, do we know where that's tracking? Dupont, because he had a chance to play this weekend?
It makes it sound like he's a chance to play in the quarterfinal.
God, the quarter.
Well, I mean, it's hard to know because I don't speak French, but the English translations that I've read have been, looks like he's going to be all right. Put on some sort of Rip Hamilton from the NBA mask, protect your face. Apparently there's a thickness to the mask that you're not allowed to be above 3 millimeters thick or something along those lines. So there's a few rules in around, you can't just turn up in an iron mask,
He broke his jaw, right? It was his jaw, right?
Cheekbone.
Cheekbone.
It's a spiral fracture.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, spiral fracture. Wow, okay, jeez.
Still going to hurt. Oh.
Yeah, I think there's a plate in there. But yeah, certainly they believe that he's likely to play. So cool. That'd be fun to watch.
It'll be interesting.
Great. Wales versus Georgia. Now, last week we talked about Wales, and they've just kind of been the quieter achievers in one of the weaker pools, just going about their business and making their way towards the quarterfinal. Georgia, do they have a chance of at least pushing Wales, considering what you saw against Fiji?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know why I'm so hard on Wales. I need to see a performance like they had against Australia to buy right into the hype.
Yeah.
But Wales will win.
Wales will win.
But Georgia might be motivated after pushing Fiji.
Yeah. I think Wales continues their winning streak, but I think Georgia are a good team, man. Like, if they don't get it right, it could be an ugly win. But I think, the good thing about the Welsh at the moment, they've got confidence. They're top of their pool, and you'd like to think that this game is then going to springboard them for what obviously Warren Gatland and that group wants in that quarterfinal and semi-final stage. So a Welsh win.
Cool. Bryn, England v Samoa. Do you see anything changing? England's form should get them through this?
Yeah, I think just Samoa have been too disappointing. I think the turnover rate has been pretty tough for them. Look, on the weekend they had a lot of unforced errors, and so you'd have to think that's something that they can clean up. And we talked around the clunkiness and around the Samoans. I think it might be just stripping it right back, making it a really simple game plan, making it very clear, and then you can go out and be real decisive, and your job's a lot easier to be able to be played more freely and decisive. So But even with that, if that does happen, I think the English, they suffocate them and they continue that DNA, which I think has been boding them pretty well. Scoreboard pressure, effort areas around their defence and contestable game will be a bit too much for Samoa.
Yeah, I think England's kicking game, like Samoa have got nothing to lose, so they will chance their arm, probably from deep. So it's a good opportunity. It suits England to kick long, get a good chase line, and say, have a crack.
Yeah.
And if you make mistakes down here, we'll pounce. And if you don't, well, we'll work our way back into the game somehow. So I think it just suits England.
Cool. Now, we've already talked about this game at length. Ireland versus Scotland. You're picking Ireland.
Go Ireland, yeah.
Yeah. Bryn, Ireland as well. You don't see an upset there?
No, I don't see an upset, but we even talk a lot about Scotland, but they do play good footy. So
mate,
could be a tight first up.
We've just defended ourselves around how much we love Ireland. We've got to get right on this Ireland bandwagon.
Yeah, totally.
I'm with them. I'm with them winning. But, the Scottish, I think, first half, they play a lot of their footy and they play really well. So I expect Ireland to take over the top, the second half. But I think the first half will be pretty a fast-flowing game, I think. Yeah, ball and play a lot.
It's going to be an awesome battle of the outsides.
Yeah.
Scotland have got some good outsides, but, we obviously big fans of James Lowe and his point of difference around those wide breakdowns.
Yeah.
It's, and they both like to play, so
yeah,
it could be a very entertaining game.
It is. They've got great wingers, Scotland. Darcy Graham, Stain, Under Merva. Good midfield. But do they have the keys to the penthouse?
No.
They don't have the keys to the penthouse.
They're on, what floor would they be on? 9?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they're not going to the penthouse. Japan, Argentina. Japan?
Nah, I'm going Argie.
Argie?
I'll go Japan.
You go Japan, yes. Why?
What I saw on the weekend, and I think even the English game, they've shown we didn't think was going to happen. They hadn't shown any form of improvement before going to that World Cup, but they've gotten a lot better and around a lot of those areas. Breakdown area. I thought the kicking game as well with their kicking game was a lot better, and I think Matsuda as well. The scoreboard pressure, he can get his penalties from 50 out. So whether they can replicate that, I'm not too sure, but. I think I've seen enough of their Wild Tech Japan. I think they're a good chance against Argentina just because of their discipline issues. Argentina have had a few discipline issues in the past, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Cool. Bryn, Tonga's getting its first W against Romania?
Yeah. Yes, they are. Yep, they are. They've been on the tough side of the draw, and it'd be great to see them get a result for all their fans and to go away happy. So yeah, I'll go Tonga for their first win for the World Cup this year.
Tonga,
Fiji versus Portugal.
Yep.
You're taking that.
Yep.
Excellent. Fiji for you as well.
Yep, Fiji.
But big credit to Portugal. They've been one of the exciting teams that play great rugby, good fun.
Oh, that draw is a big result. Georgia are a good side.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic result.
They're probably the biggest mover and shaker, I think, as far as those teams is concerned. They've been pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, and, probably warrant a bit more respect.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Well, they've earned more respect.
They've earned more respect, and they'll get a chance. They'll get a chance to earn some more in the years to come. Well, thank you very much for tuning in once again to the Aotearoa Rugby Pod. I think we got to the bottom of what's going to happen this week. Jipper, thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the questions. Enjoyed them today.
Yeah, there were some crackers. There were some absolute crackers. So keep coming back to us. Send us an email, Aotearoa RugbyPod at sky.co.nz, or comment in the YouTube comment section. We'll get there, and we'll get through as many of them as we can. If not, we'll try to get to them in future weeks if we can. Bryn, thanks once again. You're flying off to beautiful Hawaii. It's going to be a tough week for you.
Yeah, it is, mate. We're looking forward to it. So we're off there for 8 days. We've got a 2-week break, so getting to Hawaii and enjoying a bit of time with my partner. So should be good.
It's been an all-time year for Bryn. Europe, Hawaii. Jeez, it's the life.
Yeah,
it's the life.
You make your own luck, don't you, Brynner?
I'll tell you what, lads. It's been a hell of a 6 weeks though. We've had 3 injured halfbacks, so I've been out there earning it this campaign. So now looking forward to it.
Awesome,
should be a good
mate.
break.
Well, enjoy. Put your feet up, and thank you very much for tuning in once again to the Aotearoa Rugby Pod. Make sure you catch us on Sky, on RugbyPass. You can tune in as an audio podcast as well on any of the podcast platforms. Thanks again for joining us. Flick us an email, get in touch. We'll try to engage with you as much as we possibly can. Enjoy your weekend's footy. Mā te wā.